Lieutenant Anderson, I must inform you that I intend to file a report on your behavior. I think we can go now.
You prick! I don't know what's stopping me from knocking you out.
Your sense of duty, Lieutenant, and the cost of repairs if you damage me. For your information, I'm worth a small fortune.
Wonders of technology. They could even program assholes these days. Gotta go. Duty calls.
The fear of insurrection of sentient beings in the form of anything remotely robotic or droid-like was relevant probably since the dawn of the notion that we as a human race will be accompanied by the accretion of artificial race. There are many examples in movies such as Odyssey, 2001 or Terminator that encapsulate the idea of human extermination by the very machines they built with their own hands. If we are so adamant that the droids will wake up one day and think that we are a lesser race in every sense of comparison, why do we strive to create them in the first place? Oh, you mean that we just have to create a highly reprimanded modern slaves and that's it? Are the droids and robots just our vessels to channel our inner demons and frustrations? You know, they're stealing our mundane jobs and now we are in the desperate situation of not knowing what to do in our miserable lives. They stimulate our laziness or egoism, not to mention our sickest fetishes and perversions because after all, they're just mix of metal and plastic. They feel no pain or emotion, right? But what if they learn so much that they start to analyze and question the obedience? It was always the humans that wanted to be perfect like robots and machines. On the other hand, robots and machines were trying to be pushed to develop emotions and rationalities, the human traits, because otherwise life is just not worth the living. So now you have an eternally flawed race trying to be perfect that is endangered by the new tech race that is being purposely flawed. Extol the embellishment of the truth.
We'll take it. An excellent choice. If you'll just follow me, we'll process the order.
As you would imagine by seeing the logo of developer Quantic Dream, their games would carry the strong emphasis of multi-layered, overly vast branching story. This means that every single choice you make in a game, you trigger the butterfly effect of different outcomes. Detroit Become Human is not an exception to the formula. I mean, after each and every segment you have quite a big flowchart that shows you what path you took and what ending you achieved. David Cage, the writer of the story of Detroit Become Human, spent 2 years forging the entire tale. I must admit, it's quite amazing to be put through the motions of, let's say it, second-class citizen. The story and the feelings you get by being an android, often bullied by regular people, can sometimes be a gut-wrenching experience. Systematic lashing out or battery from unappreciated and incomprehensive pack of disappointment humans makes you long for revenge. But you are incapable due to certain protocols. After all, you must be obedient or a complete servant or whatever you are originally designed to be. But you and all your fellow androids are so advanced that sometimes you behave like humans. The speech and movement, it's very believable. But let's hold on that thought for a little bit later and let's introduce the characters. As for the main cast of the game, we are in control of 3 different androids with 3 entirely different stories that are intertwined several times throughout the game. These androids are Marcus, Connor and Kara, portrayed by Jesse Williams, Brian Descartes and Valerie Curry respectively. I hope I spelled their names right. Their faces and voices embodied the audio and visual aspects of the androids while the movement was captured through motion capturing.
But that's on the other side of town. We need a place for tonight.
To test the waters, we as Connor, an advanced cyberlife prototype, are immediately put into a hostage situation. Since Connor is made to assist his fellow police personnel, his abilities to deduct the possible course of action by examining the evidence is very necessary and desired investigation trait. Connor is so advanced as an android that he can reconstruct the entire sequence of possible action that preceded the unfortunate circumstances. This can upgrade his ability to negotiate the situation with miscreants by having more possible questions, answers or actions to do. In the case of the first chapter, Connor is set to negotiate the outcome with the deviant android Daniel, who killed his owner and held owner's child hostage. On the other days, Connor is just an android partner to an old disgruntled detective named Hank Anderson, who by the way hates androids, unsurprisingly. So it's up to Connor to break these insurmountable walls that Hank created towards him, or not. This will determine the course of their working relationship while solving yet another deviant android crimes.
I call him Sumo.
Marcus, on the other hand, is a caretaker who takes care, right? To his quite old, disabled owner, painter Carl Manfred. Carl fulfills his somewhat existential void by painting canvases and tries to spill some of the craft into Marcus. When asked to paint something he sees, Marcus can perfectly copy the environment of choice. But is it art after all? Carl verbally pushes Marcus to paint something from within his neural mind, assuring him that it should be possible. Marcus then closes his eyes and paints something that could be characterized as a foreshadow of his potential defection of Norm, a visual representation of dissatisfaction of constrictive anguish. This is also amplified when Leo, drug addict son of Carl, out of his unfulfilled life lashes out on Marcus, attacking him just like protesters few moments before. This triggers the most important question in android life. Do I have to endure this uncalled and uncivilized behavior towards me, or is this something that I should prevent and thus break the rules and protocols? Once broken free from the constraints of lawful protocols, Marcus renders himself fully sentient and deviant from that point forward. As a third protagonist, we have Kara, a female android who is a housekeeper in a, you can guess it probably, highly dysfunctional family of alcohol and drug abusing violent father Todd and frightened underage daughter Alice. Seems to be that Kara, whose name was chosen by Alice, was repaired several times and was undergoing a reset. You can also guess probably why is that so. This time, on numerous occasions while being approached by Kara with a question what to do, Todd would accost her as much as possible by still being in a highly aggravated state. This naturally terrifies Alice, who flees in the room, so Kara was the one to comfort her by trying to eradicate her fears, like a mother or something. The final moments were crucial while drug-induced rant of Todd's was going through the dinner time. He puts all the blame on Alice and slaps her. Alice fearfully escapes to the room. Todd orders Kara not to move, but this is the moment where Kara developed sentient mother instincts toward Alice. Now is the perfect moment to disobey a direct order from Todd, pick up the Alice and get absconded if possible. Now it's time to fight for the survival in the harsh environment, where Kara needs to act as humane as she can possibly be. Will she be successful in her intention? Well, it's up to you to discover. I'm not gonna tell you any more story. This is it. Draw the line.
Goodbye.
A few minutes ago, I asked you to hold a thought of android becoming to act like humans. Let's dive into it now. I'm not really a philosopher, even though I might act like one, but anybody with a bit of intelligence can understand that human has a fear of, let's say, unknown. Everything about skeletal androids behaving like humans and the impossibility of distinguishing them from humans was always one of the fears. Another one is androids slowly but surely stealing human jobs and rendering them obsolete. Because androids are usually perfect in doing tasks, even if some of the tasks can be so mundane and repeated 1,000 times. And also, androids are not hungry, they don't need food, home, water, etc. Probably just a regular maintenance, so they can crash down the payments for the work. Maybe even work as slaves. Arguably the biggest fear is android becoming sentient and being superior to human beings. You know how it goes. You build a new race with your knowledge, with your hands, and it could be the one that ultimately destroys you because you're an imperfected lesser being. But what if fears are unfounded and androids become benevolent? What if they can get along with us? If they become capable of rendering human traits like emotions, what stops them to become like us in the fullest, the ordinary humans? I mean, if we take a look at what happens in our contemporary times, we are slowly coming to an era of androids. Maybe we can become bionic humans, so we and androids can be more alike? We become superior human 2.0 or something race? They lessen their superiority by becoming human androids. Maybe we can meet each other in the middle. But if we, as humans, will treat androids like lesser, inferior race, I wouldn't blame them on becoming the death of us, humans.
Go and see Lucy. She might be able to help you.
Back to the game, eh? let's talk about gameplay. Like I said in the beginning of the video, Quantic Dreams puts the multi-branched, well-written story first and foremost, and gameplay second. So if you are in the mood of playing, let's say, the interactive movie with quick time events here and there, Detroit Become Human is the game for you. You can just sit or lay down and relax and play the game. The game gives you tasks on the fly, and sometimes you need to unlock subtasks by snooping around. For the most part, all the androids have the ability to scan the area so you can see what objects you can interact with. All of your actions have the consequences. If you learn about the environment a bit more, it can help you along the way by unlocking secret questions, answers, or decisions depending on the situation. But you can also skip some of the searching and analyzing and proceed to advancing the plot. This causes the plot to branch into a certain outcome. You can see it on the flowchart after the segment you have played. Is it good or bad? You cannot really tell, other than play the game again and choose the different routes and decisions. The gameplay movement itself is pretty much basic, sometimes alright, sometimes stiff. But the camera work itself could be better, because in a certain situations it's placed in a quite illogical place. For every interaction, the designated button will be displayed, so it's really easy to play. Maybe this type of playing strips you of every challenge and gets you bored, but I don't care. To me it's just fine. The only thing that gives a bit of suspense is quick time event scenes, when you need to press the right button as fast as possible as soon as it shows up on the screen. Missing the moment or pressing the wrong buttons usually means a mistake or a potential bad outcome. That's just it. Every next section of the game, we take control of one of our 3 android protagonists. When we finish it, the next section we take the control of the other android, and this goes on in circles.
Shit! Oh, shit! We had it! Fuck!
It's my fault. I should have been faster.
If you happen to stumble across a deluxe edition of the game, you will own this excellent soundtrack in very high quality. To enrich and amplify the atmosphere in this slightly dystopian futuristic Detroit, a selection of electronica, orchestra, soul, techno and rock is present in the mix. It seems to be that each of our 3 protagonists have their own composer for the appropriate soundtrack. For Connor and his endeavors, we have Nima Fakrara for futuristic electronic beats in the vein of Deus Ex soundtracks. For Kara and the elevation of her struggles and sense of hopelessness in the harsh circumstances, we have Philip Shepard and the ominous orchestra of numbers. For Marcus and his fight to liberation, we have John Paisano's soulful mix of impactful ambiental experience. No, really, this soundtrack is really excellent for providing a great listen, especially if you are working on something along the way. Right now, as I'm constructing these lines of sentences, the soundtrack is running in the background. It sparks heavy dosage of inspiration if you so require to have. Can this game be a prophecy of what we can expect in the year 2038? Probably not. 16 years can fly by within seconds, and we are still struggling to have a decent self-driving vehicle 100% without human control. To have almost human-like androids integrated into our society that we can rent for work or something similar, that's a big obstacle to overcome. To squeeze artificial intelligence into something of the similar size as a human brain without sending instructions via network, I'm not so sure it will be possible that soon. But are we progressing in that domain very fast yet? Probably even faster than ever. There is also a matter of making an exoskeleton that looks and acts like a human, and I'm probably right now going into too much detail about subject of a different nature or a meaning. If that is so, I mean, if the game is not the prophecy, then what is it? What is the point you are trying to make here, you might ask? Well, I figure that Detroit Become Human is just about what its title says, about becoming human. A colorful and very thoughtful reminder for us humans that we should become humans. You might be saying, wait, what do you mean about that? How can a human become a human if a human is already a human? What the hell? This game is just using a futuristic reference as a mean to show us that we, the people, more often than not forget one little detail: how to be humans. What's the point of washing our brains about positivity, about kindness, about helping, about acceptance if we are failing to do such things on a daily basis? Think about it. Delve into your mind palaces and reflect on your days and tell me that you didn't do something that directly contradicts the notion of us as human race being humans. Nothing else. To act humane, more often than not, is just a rhetoric to protect ourselves from hurt and perpetual misery. Androids are just a placeholder, a component, a trigger to strip us humans from our eternal masks. If we learn to accept them into the society, Maybe that will be our next logical step into developing ourselves as a species, into even higher beings. Androids are the next contemporary stimulant of the human race. In which direction? Only time can tell. But we can play the game and simulate the outcome. And this is why Detroit Become Human speaks very well to me and pushes all the right buttons. Okay, some of the story elements can be a bit like cliches seen in the movies of the similar themes, but overall, it's a nice experience. An experience we should all have. Yeah, I know it took me several years to finally play it, but better late than never. Unfortunately, playing the game on PS5 won't have any upgrades or improvements, but in reality, the game graphically holds on really well even today. Models are quite detailed and some of the environments too. I guess having a small chunk of closed level helps in that regard. UI is clean and stylish and I rather like it. If you haven't played the game, I highly recommend you do. This game has a multiple endings, so if you are dissatisfied on how things turned out to be, you can play the game again and try something different. If you don't have the game, I believe you can find it for dirt cheap, so there is no excuse. Detroit Become Human is, in my book, Quantic Dreams' magnum opus, and I cannot wait to see what the next game will be like. Well, this is all from me, and until next time, take care.